Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and the woman in whose district that debate took place this past week. And Congresswoman, first of all, are you surprised that impeachment didn't come up at that debate?
Well, I was somewhat surprised. Obviously, the candidates have to answer the questions that the various questioners present to them, and their time is short. But it was sort of surprising. But I think the issue is not that there are no supporters of impeachment and those who are running for president. It's a given that the House Judiciary Committee is doing its tasks, doing its job, and has been doing so now for going on almost a year. And now we will continue to do that as we proceed even more intently and intensely with an impeachment investigation.
And you are a member of the Judiciary Committee. That is the relevant committee here when it comes to an impeachment inquiry or impeachment itself. In your mind, does it matter whether or not the Speaker herself is willing to call it an impeachment inquiry? Or in your mind, is that what's happening regardless of the way she describes it?
I think that's what's happening, regardless of how she describes it. Speaker Pelosi has her responsibilities. We are very pleased with the framework in which we're operating under, that the Speaker agrees with, and as has been said, legislating, litigating, and investigating. Our litigating is to, in fact, move us forward more intensely in the investigation. You made a point earlier about what happens in investigations. It moves the needle. It educates the public. It gives them a focus, and that's what we intend to do with witness after witness after witness, including Don McGahn, because we believe he has absolutely no reason to reject the demand for his presence before the committee. We have subpoenaed him. We've now gone to court. And now with the resolution that we passed just this past Thursday, we believe the court will see that we are truly in an impeachment investigation, needing to get all of the facts to ensure that we have the truth. And Joy, I just want to say this. This is not a witch hunt. We have no particular desire to go after a president of the United States. It is a sacred and somber responsibility, but we cannot leave all of what has occurred in this administration on the table without doing our Article I duties and upholding the rule of law.
Yeah, can you give us some insight into what areas? I named a whole big long list of things that potentially could be written into articles of impeachment against this president that the public has all seen great reporting on. Are there particular areas that the committee is focused on when it comes to where you potentially could have impeachable offenses?
Well, from my perspective, the obstruction of justice is the most stark and devastating potential accusations that may draw up articles of impeachment, and that is the whole lineage of efforts by the president to tell people to fire Director Mueller. The back and forth of telling someone to fire, then telling someone to cover it up that you were told to fire, getting someone else to go to Don McGahn, for example, and whisper to him, going to General Sessions before he was terminated, to tell him to unrecuse himself so that he can take over the investigation and not have Director Mueller do it. Of course, the long saga of Director Comey in terms of was he really fired because he wouldn't stand down on the Russian investigation, or that he wouldn't go light or encourage lightness on General Flynn. All of that is in the wheelhouse of high crimes and misdemeanors. To the American public, it is not a criminal act. I think the distinction with Richard Nixon is people could understand a burglary, but be reminded it was called a low-rate burglary. But It was a burglary, but then it was the lying about the burglary. But let me tell you what it really was. After the Senate had its hearings for about 9 months, it was the smoking gun of the tapes.
Right.
We're investigating so that we can educate the public, but as well find all the facts that may be relevant to then writing the articles of impeachment, which, by the way, that is what will go to the floor of the House for a vote.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, thank you very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I wish the people of Bahamas, we are working, Joy. I am really overwhelmed by the terrible response of this presidency. We, members of the United States Congress, We'll be pushing dollars toward them for recovery, working on the TPS, working on the visas, and we say to them that we stand as their friend and allies and pray for them on a regular basis.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for saying that. Really appreciate it.
You.
And I know that all of the viewers of this show agree very much with that. Thank you. All right. And joining me now is